Ladies and gentlemen, I'm Dave Crouch. This is Policy Talks, brought to you most every month by Williamson Inc., our chamber here in Williamson County. We've got a program that I think you're going to really enjoy this morning. Thank goodness one of our guests just walked in. And Commissioner Ezell, we're glad to see you. And we've got a very bright-eyed audience here at Columbia State this morning on this beautiful campus, and it's a beautiful day for it. So glad everybody made it. Want to welcome the people watching us on YouTube. That Creed is getting out there to the world, and our radio listeners on WAKM AM 950. Thanks to Tom. Our panelists this morning: Commissioner Mark Ezell from the Tennessee Department of Tourism. Knows a little bit about cows. I got to tell you what I've been doing this morning. But also now the Commissioner of Tourism for 7 years, I believe.
Yes.
And doing a bang-up job from what I hear. Had some interesting challenges here recently, and we'll talk about those in a minute. He's a fellow alumni with me of David Lipscomb College, or university it is now. Wasn't when I was there, and Tennessee Tech as well. So, his counterpart here is Maureen Haley Thornton, and she is the president and CEO of Visit Franklin, which is our county's tourism department. And she is doing an amazing job here in Williamson County. We want to talk to her about many of the things going on there. Commissioner, why does the state of Tennessee need a tourism department?
Well, the exciting news for Tennessee, and you know, I'm a longtime Nashvilleian or Middle Tennessean, had a family business called Purity Dairies. And I remember Bill Haslam saying one time, we're a sales tax state, and that just kind of flew over me. If you don't know really what us being a sales tax state means, the deeper we get into the data, we are not an income tax state. We are not a state property tax. Yes. And we are the third lowest taxed residents in America. All those we get really excited about. What us being a sales tax state is that it means our sales tax rate is one of the highest in the country. For us, with visitors, we call that margin. Because if a visitor spends $1,000 in Virginia or Pennsylvania, those are two states we're chasing to get in the top 10, we're 11th, that government of state and local will get $58 and $63. If they spend $1,000 in Florida, they'll get $70. If they spend $1,000 in Tennessee, we get $95. So the same $1,000 that generates in Virginia $58 for their residents, we get $95. And that's why it's been such a blessing for me. And honestly, as a businessman, my feelings about tourism was, that's nice. Hope it helps me with a few more ice cream buyers or milk drinkers.
Right.
But for Tennessee, it's essential. And with Governor Lee's help, he allowed us to double the budget. Most of that was federal money. We're the second fastest growing in the nation, but it's worth $700 million new dollars annually from where we were 7 years ago. We're spending 30 or 40 of that. The other goes for us as Tennesseans. And that's why what we do every day is so missional for our team. And thank you, Representative, for your support. You've got a great set of representatives in Representative Reeves and in Senator Leader Johnson. That's why we want to do what we're doing. It's good for us as Tennessee neighbors.
Tell he's excited about his job. I think he likes it. And that's why we like to have you here. We had you here a couple of years ago, and it was an interesting discussion, and we want to get into it as deep as we can. Maureen, same question for Williamson County. I mean, don't people just want to come here anyway? Do they need you to I'm kidding, of course.
Well, people do like coming here, and we are really fortunate, and we love representing a community that is as beautiful and attractive and appealing as ours. It certainly makes the job a little easier and a lot more fun, so we have that advantage that we represent an incredible place. But it does take work because there's stiff competition. There's a lot of beautiful, interesting places out there, and the thing that's great about what Commissioner Ezell said is Williamson County benefits from the spending in tourism. We were number 6 out of the 95 counties for direct spending at over $1.3 billion spent by visitors in Williamson County in 2024. And in terms of what that generates, all the way down to the bottom line that people probably care about, it's $150,000 a day in sales tax revenue. Not to mention the money that they're spending to help our businesses thrive, our restaurants be the kinds of places we as residents enjoy, but $150,000 in sales tax revenue every day.
So how much does that save me in property tax?
$1,631 this year.
I knew you knew that number.
And Dave, that is the 3rd highest in the state. So while you're 6th, which is great in visitor spending, because you have less residents than some of those other counties in front of you, it's actually the 3rd highest, only behind Sevier and Davidson. And one last stat on this, that recently we discovered, and we are big data people. If you didn't know, we've hired a research director, and now we have a research team because we think data needs to be the way we drive Governor Lee. I was on his board for 10 years beforehand. He expects us to be doing that. But here's the stat. Did you know that the education fund in Tennessee is funded, 95% of it is funded with state sales tax? So that means leisure and hospitality, we just kind of discovered this last year, is the 2nd leading contributor. Visitors are the 2nd leading contributor to our education fund for Tennesseans. And that's why we want more tourists. Because as good, I mean, who's got better education programs than Williamson County? And so when we can fund that both at a state and local level with a leisure and hospitality industry, it's like, Andy Marshall, thank you. Because he's got restaurants here, and that brings visitors, and that actually contributes. And he's one of hundreds or even thousands of people that are doing that every day in leisure and hospitality.
Raised a question that I don't even have on my list, and I've got 4 pages, so talk fast. But I saw a piece here recently that said that the TVA lakes, I think this study was done 10 years ago, the TVA lakes, just the recreational revenue from those TVA lakes is like $11 billion a year with a B. And a lot of that is hospitality and I forget the other, I think restaurant, restaurant hotels and things like that. Are you familiar with those numbers?
I don't know those numbers. I can tell you it's why we started when we got in to build what I call the Robert Trent Jones golf effect of Alabama with the Tennessee Bill Dance Signature Lakes. And so we are spending money to create what will eventually be 18 Bill Dance lakes. The good news is they touch 39 counties, and we are putting money below the water and above the water. But what do we really want? We want those communities to rally around the anglers who come. So we're much bigger in the fishing tournament business than we were 5 years ago, and we're helping a lot of those most rural communities learn how to, a visitor's nice, but not if they don't spend money. So we want that community to capture that restaurant and eventually overnights. Y'all do overnights so well. And if you get overnights, you get dinner, you get breakfast. And those are the real revenue streams. But I don't know the numbers on what we want to do is monetize the assets that people are coming in. State parks are free, but a lot of people come. How does that community rally around that after they come to their restaurant or they spend money with them? Maureen does a great job of that already.
I've got a personal reason for asking that question, and part of a group that's trying to get the Columbia Dam rebuilt, which you probably don't even know about. It was built and removed before you were born, or before you were in college anyway. But there is a lake that was planned down there, a little bigger than Tim's Ford in Murray and Marshall County. And TVA bought about 15,000 acres of land down there and took it off the tax rolls. It's growing up in weeds and trees now. So anyway, that could do amazing things for that area. And I'll be back to you for the data to back that up, okay?
That sounds good.
The branding. Maureen, I know you've done a lot of work to brand Williamson County, Franklin, and tell me how that started, how it's turned out, and can you see the results of it?
Yeah, absolutely. That's one of my favorite things to talk about after how much money we save residents. So we, when I started 4 years ago, we were coming out of COVID and looking at a strategic plan that would help guide us with momentum into the future. And so one of our initial strategic priorities was maximizing our destination identity and positioning, which includes how do we talk about all of the communities in Williamson County, what do we lead with, all of that. But really what we realized also is what's the first thing you have to do before you can maximize something is you have to really deeply and thoroughly understand it so that you can get every angle out of it. And so fast forward, we spent about 1.5 years with a pretty fantastic agency digging deep in with the community to understand what is at the core essence of who we are as a place so that we can build our tourism messaging around that so that two things can happen. One, we're inviting visitors who are compatible with the people who live here because we're essentially inviting people into our homes when we have visitors come into our community. So we want people who will enjoy our place and respect our place the way that we would, and then of course spend their money while they're here. And so that brand has been rolling out, and it's been an awesome opportunity for us to look at the idea of we lead with Franklin as Visit Franklin, but we represent all of Williamson County. And so we've made it very intentional and obvious in the way we look at assets like our great agricultural piece. Most of that's not in Franklin proper, but it is a huge part of who we are as a community. So that's very visible in the work that we do. And how do we continue to talk about the history and historical assets, which are very much in Franklin, but also in places like Spring Hill and in other parts of our community. So it really was about tying the threads together in the way that then a visitor could easily understand, this is who you are as a place, I'm interested in going there. And then we've incorporated it in our content marketing on our website, in our advertising, even in the way we attract meetings and convention groups so that we try to find people who will match what we have because we don't have massive meeting space like some other places. How do we find people who will be drawn to our community, who will be the right fit in size, and then spend their dollars in our places?
Commissioner, same question for the state. I know that the state of Tennessee is pretty diverse in the assets that you have to use to attract visitors, but how do you organize all that?
You know, that's been really fun. My background did include a lot of branding, and we are the overbrand. A visitor is coming to a specific place, certainly to a city or a location that happens to be in Tennessee. And so we redid our branding, wanted to create something where in a visitor, what could they experience that sounded perfect? And so Tennessee Sounds Perfect is the experience we want to overbrand, whether you're going to the Smokies in Sevier County or you're going to Carnton or to South Hall, which is a number of our international visitors have now found in Williamson County. So we overbrand. And the biggest thing that we wanted to do was TMP, tell more people. And we've gone from we used to talk when the Lee administration came in, we were talking to about 30 million people. We've been talking the last 5 years to over 100 million people. Why? Because outside of a beach and a casino, we have everything that a visitor could want. And our diversity of assets, especially statewide, are just remarkable, from our music to culinary to our outdoors to family fun options. So we're mainly telling more people, and then we're providing the overbrand of that experience sounds perfect to the work that Maureen and her team and others are doing across the state.
The Smokies had an interesting problem recently, last few weeks, and I think you had a creative way to deal with that. How's that working? Tell us what you've done or what they've done, how that's the government shutdown has affected what's going on up there.
Well, it has to start with the leader there, Mayor Larry Waters. He's about to retire after 4 decades of being a mayor, and this county is another one of those that has had a long time great mayor. But when you got that longevity of people knowing what needs to be done, 6 years ago we built a plan. He and I, and he grabbed a lot of the stakeholders in that community and said, hey, if the Smokies ever had to be down for a shutdown, could we help kick in the dollars? And at the time, Superintendent Cassius Cash was there, and we really talked about the need for them to maybe generate some revenue. They put in a parking fee that was a little controversial, but we knew they needed to create some funding that allowed them to do things for the park, because federally they're not funded on attendance growth, and they've grown 4 million visitors in the last 6 years and no increase in staffing. So they created a Friends of the Smokies and put that in there. So this time, for the 5th time that we pulled out that program, it really happened. And we were sad that it happened, that the federal government shut down, but Interim Superintendent Sellers put up about half the money, and the state of Tennessee and these 7 or 8 stakeholders, and we funded so that the next day we were fully open. One of probably 3 or 4, I know there were only 2 east of the Mississippi national parks that opened. When you're the largest in your biggest month of October during leaf peeping season, you need to be completely open to capture those millions and millions. There's 1.5 million people come to the Smokies during October, and they all came. We are just thrilled at the work they did. Looks like they're probably going to have as good of October as they've had in several years. A lot of places weren't open. So really kudos to all the local folks, to Superintendent Sellers, and then we were really happy to put in our portion, and we will be continuing that funding for a while longer if the shutdown continues.
That's an important work. I was in the Cherokee National Forest last week. Apparently, it's not getting the same funding.
It is not, and the local groups there didn't come together with a plan where we could come alongside that. And honestly, the return on investment for taxpayer dollars isn't as great in the other 8 places. This was a money decision for the taxpayers for us to keep that revenue coming in. And so we hope we can get those open soon.
Be sure and use the restroom before you go there, because you will not want to go in one in the Cherokee Forest. No, I just walked by and I went, whoa. But anyway, that's a little color, Brandy. Let's talk for a minute about Nashville and the branding there. It's the leaders there have done. I don't know if they created this brand that they now have all on purpose or not. Do you know? It's an interesting place in the evenings, is all I better say. But it's a very popular place.
Well, they created the branding around music. And I was actually on the chamber when the decision was made, kind of in healthcare music, to go Music City, USA. And that was a brilliant decision because they really own music. And the entire music industry, songwriters, singers, it's literally as big or bigger than LA in that industry. That's really helpful for Tennessee. And yes, we love the tax dollars that are created off of a Broadway, and even the alcohol tax dollars that we don't even put in our numbers. But I think it's also true to say that they were not trying to build the Broadway business and to build that bar business. When you've got now 20 entertainers that own celebrity bars, you, in some ways, you can't stop that momentum of that exposure and fan base that is bringing those people to that. So I would say that Dina Ivey and her team do a great job. And we'll talk about the Country Music Hall of Fame. We'll talk about the Grand Ole Opry. We'll talk about the music assets that are not the most live entertainment that takes place in the world 24/7 as far as music. So it's a tricky one for them. They know that continues to grow almost without promotion that comes from what they are trying to do. We certainly want to build all the ancillary pieces and the convention business and some of that other really benefits from folks that is part of a visitor experience, but it's not an emphasis, certainly not for the state, but even I think it's fair to say for Nashville CVC that tax-producing creature continues to grow and has some challenges for them to continue to face.
Well, and I would just say, to their credit, they have used some of the resources that it has generated to try to help manage the experience and manage a safe experience. And that's a big thing in the tourism industry, too, is part of our role has always been sales and marketing, but increasingly so it becomes an opportunity and a need of organizations like ours to contribute to destination management. So how do we support preservation? How do we support visitor experience? And, you know, the investments that they've done alongside the downtown partnership and the city on the Nightmare and different safety things, I think is an important thing to remember is they can't control the beast, but they can do everything they can to make sure that visitors still have a safe experience.
Absolutely.
And it's great for us in Williamson County. Our experience is very different than theirs. We do not have celebrity bars, and in some ways, thank goodness, but we benefit when Nashville is strong because we do get overnight visitors who spend some daytime in Nashville, and we get daytime visitors who spend nighttime in Nashville. We share an airport. We have a really good point counterpoint to that experience, and so we root for a thriving Nashville.
We've got a guest back here that knows a little bit about Lower Broadway, and I just wanted to get Sarah Kate Sanders to tell us a little bit about her family business and how that's been affected over the last few years. Sarah Kate, tell us about that.
Yeah, Dave, hi, I'm Sarah Kate Sanders. My family has had a boot, hat, Western apparel business in Nashville for over 40 years, and we've actually have 2 stores down on Lower Broadway, and we made those stores before Broadway is what it is now, and we never expected it to become what it is now. So one of our stores is called Betty Boots, and then our other store is called Big Time Boots. Betty Boots is a women's boutique. It's all women's Western apparel, fashion, hats, boots, and then Big Time Boots is women's and men's. It's all hats, all women's boots, and then all men's boots. Business is good. Our busy season is the summer, obviously. It's slower now. The weekends are good, especially when big concerts bring a lot of business. NFL brings a little business, but this is kind of our slower season. But we get a lot of international people down on Broadway, which is crazy. Like, I've met yesterday, I'm going to work in like 10 minutes, but but I met a German couple yesterday. Like, I meet so many people from all over the world. Like, I met an Australian couple 2 days ago. Like, it's crazy. But yeah, our business is mainly tourism. We have a few returning customers. We call them clients, I guess. But we love it. We never expected Broadway to become what it is, but we're happy to be down there. We would love for y'all to come visit. We love our job. It's on, what? Broadway? Yeah. It's on, I said that. It's on Broadway. We're on Broadway. But yeah, it's a great time. Y'all come visit. We'll fit you for a pair of boots, fit you for a hat, but we're a family-owned business. We've been doing it for 40 years, and we'd love to serve you. Yeah.
Just a little personal color there that I thought would be fun to to add to the mix.
Well, and I
Mark?
think as Tennessee residents, based off what we talked about with sales tax, we ought to thank Sarah. Let's give her a hand for her and her family business. That's real money, as we say.
That's real money, and
Yeah, I need a cash
should I
register.
tell them about the sale this weekend, Sarah Kate? Let's move on. We got a lot
It's
to cover.
exciting.
But just, it's amazing what's going on down there, and I know it's good. It presents challenges, but now, and I got one more question about it, but is that sustainable? Can we learn? From what I hear, Las Vegas is kind of losing its luster. Is that right? Could Nashville and
Yeah, I mean, I
Maureen?
think people, humans, when they're looking for a travel experience or any kind of experience, the closer to real it is, the more interesting it is. And Las Vegas is interesting, of course, and you can see a lot of things there that don't exist anywhere else. And so I think there's a novelty aspect of Las Vegas that is also a massive number of hotel rooms and becomes a hungrier and hungrier beast to feed to keep that momentum. So I think that, you start to cannibalize your own inventory there. But I think as Nashville continues to add hotel inventory and add experiences, the closer we can stay to the core of who we are as a place, and the closer Nashville can stay to the roots and the brand of Music City, the more sustainable I think it becomes.
Yeah, and two things that come up in the data. First of all, Nevada is the fastest growing state in the last 7 years, the only one in front of us. I think we're likely going to catch them in the next 2 years because they are dropping back. I'm glad we didn't build our model or don't have to build our model off of gambling. That's a big plus for Tennessee, that we've had the kind of growth we have without that community needing to be catered to. And then, yes, Nashville's got to continue to work on how do they keep it authentic, and how do they manage all the elements, the good and the bad that come with that.
The convention center is complaining because they're losing business because they're not big enough. It's pretty big. But is that true? Is that something Nashville needs to look at as an expansion?
Well, it'll be a local decision. I was fortunate enough our family business got to help with Marty Dickens when Mayor Dean said our convention center isn't big enough. And a lot of people said, you mean between Opryland and your convention center, it's still not enough? And they said, yes, that's what we're saying. They're tough to build because they cost so much money, and you're counting on people to come. Boy, were they accurate, how beneficial that has been. We think they're starting to touch into those periods where they are having. Nashville is so hot on the convention side. Broadway provides a benefit in that sense on the entertainment. So they're starting to study that, and I trust them to be able to look at that. Both the mayor's offices, the tourism groups, the businesses around, they're just tough because they cost a lot of money when you jump in, and you have to bank on that you're going to grow that business exponentially in the years to come. But they were sure correct on the last one, and I trust their process.
What about the Titans, the Nissan Stadium, and the covered venue now that they are planning? Are we going to get a super? Oh, I know. I remember asking you the last time. What do you think about that? And you came out of your seat, I think,
Yeah.
cheering for it. But
Well, and the backstory on that is that when the Titans had first come to the state and they were talking about renovating the stadium, honestly, we wanted the Titans to stay in Tennessee, but just replacing the stadium didn't give us the potential. The minute they were ready to put a roof on that baby, we moved from a football stadium to a music, residency, entertainment venue. And Nashville should have a 60,000 people music venue, because we have the ability, like Vegas, long-term, to have residencies during the month of January and February when an old stadium sat empty because of the weather. So It was a no-brainer. We couldn't get to the table fast enough, honestly, to start running those numbers to say why the taxpayer dollars generated on the state income tax side, and by state income, I'm talking about visitor taxes on the state sales tax, to make that work. It's going to be huge. It's going to be kind of, I think, transformational for this region. Williamson County is going to gain on that. Can you imagine if Taylor Swift says, I'd like to play 4 dates over the next 2 weeks, and we're going to play it in January. So we really get excited about that, and I know Dina and her team and lots of folks are getting ready with an industry that's knowing we got something special coming in Nashville.
We're going to get a Super Bowl?
I believe we will get a Super Bowl. The state lets the local groups lead that. Nashville's been very aggressive in chasing, but with the governor's vision, we put in a mega event fund that the legislature approved. So we have funds to assist in those recruitments, and we have already, they know what kind of commitments the state is able to put in from that fund if we're able to gain one. They're very valuable, both branding and economic impact.
I was just going to add that I think, obviously it's exciting for Nashville, but that's good for us too. When we look at those multi-day concerts that happen in Nashville, we see really positive impact on our hotel occupancy in this community. And it's the more hotel that Nashville has built, the less often we see it. But man, those concerts are really something that have been driving it the last year and a half for us. So it's really good for us too.
Do you have any data, Mark, on how if the Titans were winning games instead of losing games, how that would affect attendance and economics in Nashville?
Well, I'm a longtime Tighten Up fan, but I would tell you that honestly, the visitor community, the visitors are coming right now because they can get seats. So let's capture their overnights during this time, and hopefully residents will want to keep their seat, want to attend the game in the future. So it's an interesting dynamic. People love winners. We certainly in our communities want them to be a winning organization, and I think Amy and Burke and all that group is committed to getting there. In the meantime, we'll have a few visitors in those seats.
I went to the Patriots game because my husband's a Patriots fan, and there were a lot of Patriots fans, which means there were a lot of people in hotel rooms. So we will root for the home team, but certainly welcome the opportunity for visitors to come and sit there too.
So now, is the SEC championship always going to be in Atlanta?
Again, that's a local. And, there are a lot of these kinds of places that we participate in them chasing, whether they're NCAA or NFL, WWE, which we've made a commitment to WWE for them to come. Why? It's more than $100 million economic impact the week they're here. So there are various groups that come, and when they do, they bring tens of thousands of people for multi-day, which means lots of overnight stays. So Nashville chases those, whether it's a Final Four or others, and not just Nashville, but we put a ball game in the Bristol Motor Speedway last year and set a major league all-time record with 90,000 plus people. Had a huge economic impact on that Northeast Tennessee. So if they can dream it, we'll try to come alongside on the smart investments and support it.
Maureen, let's talk about Williamson County specifically. The preservation tourism, the historic tourism, downtown Franklin, historic downtown Franklin. That's our brand, right? And
Yeah, Main Street is certainly our most recognizable asset.
And what should we do to protect that, to expand it? Now, tearing down that building on Columbia Avenue was a major plus, I think. I don't know if you're familiar with that, but there was an ugly building that they bought and
Well,
tore
there's
down.
some exciting things happening on Columbia Avenue. I'm not sure if it's the building you're talking about or not, but we were actually, so our organization is housed on Main Street, and so we're really involved there. The Downtown Franklin Association, under the Heritage Foundation, is really the ones tasked with leading the conversation around how do we adequately support Main Street continuing from an economic standpoint in protecting the businesses and the cost to do business there. But we had a meeting just earlier this week where the conversation went to what's happening on Columbia Avenue and how that does help expand the footprint of our downtown just up around the corner. We love the Harpeth Hotel is an anchor hotel in downtown, the only one right now. And we have seen that not only is it a beautiful product and representation of our community, but performs well because it's the kind of place people want to be, situated right where people want to be. And looking at how does development like what's coming at the factory with a hotel and potentially up Columbia Avenue with another anchor hotel really allows us to welcome more people into our asset of downtown, but to your point, stretch it. So we're not just putting people in the same 4 blocks of Main Street, but also expanding the experience up Columbia Avenue, up Franklin Road, and making sure that you can still enjoy it and not feel like you've just put a whole lot more people into the same 5 blocks.
What about the Carter's House new visitor center? Is that?
That's incredibly exciting, a long time in the making, a lot of people involved in that partnership that predates me, but I know they're looking forward to opening this spring, and it will be a signature experience right there also on Columbia Avenue. Not only will it be a great place for the Battle of Franklin Trust to work on telling the story of what happened during the Civil War and the Battle of Franklin, they'll also have some amenities in it, including some small meeting space and other things that we'll be taking advantage of. So we're really excited for that to open.
I would just, first of all, Maureen and her team are really good. Yes, that's appropriate. And her expertise coming in on the international side was really important. Williamson County can pick up international visitors. Why do we want international visitors? Because they are spending about 5 times what a domestic visitor is spending. And did I tell you we're a sales tax state that gets about 9.5% of that spend? So that's what they do so well. And cultural heritage pieces are so important. There are international travelers that want to come and experience those pieces. And you're doing that. We got a historical commission and other groups that are getting to put in money. Some of that comes through those sales tax that's created by visitors, so it's a beautiful cycle that's happening, but you've got a great team here that represents you with Visit Franklin.
Do you have any data on how much the downtown Franklin festivals do for the area economically? Because they are crazy.
Yeah, well, we're just coming off of one last weekend, and hopefully some of you had a chance to enjoy Pumpkin Fest. I know that the Heritage Foundation has been doing a lot of work on those economic impact studies specific to the festival. Someone was asking me the other day, what's our relationship with the festivals? And we don't put those on, we just promote them. So we think about the Heritage Foundation as the folks who set the table for that, and then we invite guests to experience it. So they're really the experts in the economic impact that it generates. But I think I saw numbers they reported somewhere north of 100,000 visitors. I was there. It was crowded, but there were a lot of people having a great time.
Great. Every time I drive by the factory, it's like a anthill. There's so many people there now. Brandy, you were instrumental in, I think, making that happen. But Jim Peterson mentioned a data point earlier that I thought was interesting. Jim, tell us about your, you got to stand up so they can see you. But tell us about what you discovered.
Well, you may find this interesting, but Ann and I drove over to the factory this past Wednesday, and as we drove in, we saw a tag from the state of Maine, and then right down from it from the state of Washington, and another one from Colorado. So we just made a decision to drive around through the parking lot and just see how many out-of-state tags were there this Wednesday afternoon, and we counted 32 tags from out of state. So somebody's getting the word out somewhere. I thought you all might find that interesting.
That's fantastic.
And we've been really fortunate. The factory has been an asset for a long time in this community. And again, a lot of people have saved it in many stages over time. But what Holiday Properties has done the last 3.5 years in investing in making that the kind of place that is still special and historic in look and feel and fit for our community, just the kinds of restaurants and shops and visitor experience, the carousel being a great one of them, has been transformational of that property. And I think many of you may have heard, but we're actually excited to open a visitor center in the factory before the end of this calendar year.
Randy, you've been there, what, 2, 3, 4 years?
At the factory? It was a year in May, but thanks.
Okay. Well, how do I recover from that one?
I can lie and say yes, Dave.
But what's going on over there? What's the attraction? What's the
What isn't going on? As I wear today, wherever the camera is, this is our new merch at the Carousel of Dreams. I love it. Oh, the camera's over there. So my role at the factory has been to open what we consider the factory's nonprofit arm. And the most important part, what I want people to understand, Maureen lauded Holiday Properties, and they knew Franklin was different. And to me, that speaks volumes about who we are as a community and the kind of culture that we promote. The Carousel, which is run by the Circle of Giving, the nonprofit that I operate, could have been their asset. They could have lined their pockets with all the revenue that came from that. But instead, they created a nonprofit arm, and all of the net revenue which we generate goes back into Williamson County specifically.
So is the carousel what's drawing the crowds?
Well, I would love to think so. I will tell you that people, when school started, we took a little bit of a nosedive, but tourists do still come and find us. It's an ebb and flow business, but parking is at a premium. And once we get that parking garage erected, it will start January 1. It'll give us 250 more spaces in a parking garage. I think literally the sky's the limit for what we can do. And I'm very proud to be associated with what's happening there. But they really embraced the nostalgia of what we all knew as the factory, continuing to host nonprofits with their events, but also being not only a destination for tourists, but a destination for our residents as well.
Good deal. Thank you.
Well, and in addition to the fact that people visit and the money it generates that goes back into the community, which is a beautiful thing, it also has been an opportunity for us to talk about the special nature of our community. And if any of you haven't seen, there was a great piece in Garden and Gun about the carousel, the fact that it's the first hand-carved wood carousel in operation in something like 100 years, which is in and of itself interesting and special and worth knowing. But then layer on top of that, that it's in a community that believes that generating revenue through this great asset can then benefit nonprofits in the community. It just underscores the kind of place that we are in, and it doesn't necessarily say, come and visit us, but it does tell people who we are as a community, and people read it and say, I'd like a little bit of that. Let me come and check that out. And so it absolutely benefits whether or not they come to the carousel. I hope they do. But whether or not they come to the carousel, it makes them aware of, that's a place I'd like to go.
And Dave, when you talked about Holiday Properties, I have people ask me all the time, what's been the number one reason why Tennessee's the second fastest growing tourism state the last, 7 years? And again, to put that in perspective, the nation is up 17%. Tennessee is up 36%. And that's worth several $100 million a year extra.
All because of our commissioner.
That's wrong.
It's not because of our commissioner.
And yes, got a great team. And yes, got great partners. And yes, we got to do more advertising and telling the world. But honestly, the private investment that has been done by our industry year in and year out, people taking a risk, spending lots of millions of dollars to upgrade facilities or build hotels or to invest in the pieces that they've then got to meet a payroll, do all the things. I tell them the number one reason why Tennessee keeps growing is because people keep taking risks and building assets that people can enjoy the beautiful outdoors or our music or others and have those hospitality assets. And we're grateful to a business community that has just, we introduced Mitch Patel the other day. We christened his 23rd hotel in Tennessee. And we've got people doing that literally all across the state, but certainly in Williamson County, you just heard an example of people doing that. And that's, when they build it, we can promote it, and people will come.
Great. Now, one more Williamson County specific question. Thank you, Matt, for texting me this one. But the convention center, the convention space here, or our convention center, is it too small?
It's not big, but it has worked, and it is an example of 20 years ago, it was an investment in partnership from Williamson County and the city of Franklin. It's, depending on who you ask and what they're considering, it's somewhere around 30,000 square feet. I don't know the numbers in Nashville, but it's a little bigger than 30,000 square feet. We do believe that there is interest in meetings happening in our community that cannot be accommodated by the meeting space we have. Whether that means that space needs to be larger or other spaces need to exist is sort of a bigger conversation, but there is absolutely demand for more space for those things to happen that can benefit the meetings that attract attendees from out of town who stay in our hotels, who spend all that great money that generates sales tax, but also that supports our local businesses. We have a great team at Williamson Inc. who has done an incredible job welcoming large, important companies into our community that also need a place to do things. And we hear time and again that companies that are here end up having their own meetings in Nashville because the space that we have here isn't large enough. So it's a twofold thing, is one, how do we invite more visitors, and also how do we not lose the spending from our local companies and community? So I guess the short answer would be yes, we need more space. There's a longer answer to it, but yes.
And did we mention that conventions are tricky? To build one is a tough decision. I think that another kicker we haven't talked much about is you're close to B&A and that airport, you know, the trajectory for that airport.
That was my next question.
I mean, you're talking about a blessing. When we run the data, and I travel the nation a lot, and people talk about our airport, 114 new nonstop destinations, the new Aer Lingus and flight Dublin and Reykjavik, Iceland Air going there, and we're not done with the international pieces. At the same time, we added 2 to our 1 international across the pond flight. That flight now has almost doubled in numbers of times that people can go across with 10 services now. And that airport's just going to keep growing. They have plans. It's when you're spending billions of dollars to keep on adding places, and to me, that convention business that can then easily be gained by those 114 sites. I want to say one other thing on tourism. What I love about what's happened is Southwest Airlines' presence in that airport is transformational. They added a Memphis to Nashville flight that's now become one of the biggest ones that is in the airport. That helped us get Southwest to now come into, they start in Knoxville. We've been dreaming, we've been calling on them for 7 years to get that. What it means is an international person can fly into Nashville from Aer Lingus and go east to the Smokies, the biggest national park in America by double, or go to Graceland. And that will allow us to really capitalize on a lot of those. So it's appropriate for that to be in the convention center discussion. What size should this town, with Nashville's large size, is a tricky one. But boy, potential is certainly there.
They're going to get the traffic fixed, right?
You know, we got some options, some that'll work, and some that don't. But you know, the loop. I happen to be a really big fan. I'll be in Vegas in a couple of weeks and actually go through the command center and all those pieces. Just in case people need to know, there was enough of the questions that have been answered to start a process. There are lots of questions that are continuing to be answered. That's what a permitting process is and all those things.
You're talking about the tunnel.
I'm talking about the tunnel.
Elon
But
Musk's
to think
going.
about that on a private basis, someone is going to build something that's going to take thousands of cars off of the worst intersection that we have in the state of Tennessee is pretty exciting. And you certainly want to be exploring and trying to see that done, saving taxpayers many millions, well, many hundreds of millions of dollars. And so I happen to be a fan of that process and believe in the system that at the end of the day, we're going to be really pleased that they picked Nashville, Tennessee as their second city in the whole nation to put that process, and it's going to help us with our convention business at both Opryland and downtown.
Kind of like having a carousel to have something like that you can go ride. So,
Will they be putting their profit back into the community?
We loved the price when they said free, and so that's why you have those. That's why you do the due diligence. Why the due diligence continues, but why you go, wow, this could become a gift. Las Vegas views it as a huge gift to their tax revenue.
I noticed one of your new flights coming up is to Montego Bay, Jamaica. If there's anything left there, I guess after this hurricane, hope they survived that okay. But San Juan, Costa Rica, another new flight coming in.
Yeah, the southern section and the islands certainly provides a benefit for folks here to be able to get to those places. We probably, those are really good on a marketing basis. We're still chasing Germany and France and a lot of those groups that we believe can come from across the pond, carry a lot of dollars when they're coming. They're on a lifetime 2 or 3 week trip, and we're trying to keep them in Tennessee, aren't we, Matt? I see some other, who else from your team is here? I see them in other places when we're chasing. And let me just mention, we've got Michelin. Michelin is coming to Tennessee on November 3rd. I'll be in Greenville and here the first time. If you wonder why Tennessee has never had any Michelin restaurants, it's because we couldn't get in the door to be inspected. We solved that problem. 6 states are going to enter the Michelin program, and we think there's going to be a lot of Middle Tennessee restaurants that have been worthy of Michelin rankings, whether recommended or all the way to having a 1-star, 2-star, green star. So all of that starts, and all that's going to mean is just more people being aware of how good our culinary is.
A couple other quick ones, and I guess I haven't left much time for questions. Is there anybody out there that wants to quiz these folks? Lee Reeves, I'll be to you in just a minute. One of our assets in Tennessee, some people would consider it an asset anyway, is the whiskey we make here. Leapers Fork Distillery here in Williamson County is opening a new facility in downtown Nashville. How's Jack Daniel's doing, Commissioner?
Well, the whiskey industry's in a tough cycle. The last year and a half, that business on the consumption side is down, and that's affected our tour side also. Having said that, we start with a base that's enviable. We have more people come to Tennessee whiskey distilleries than the Bourbon Trail in Kentucky. People wouldn't know that because they spend a lot of money on promoting that, but really been a key part, and they'll still have a couple 100,000 people at Jack and others that are flagships, and we're excited about Leapers Fork.
Well, and I would just say they are part of our board and organization. As you imagine, something we support a lot is the experience at Leapers Fork Distillery. And they shared earlier this week that they've actually been doing better, and they attribute a lot of that to tourism because they've built a great experience that people want to have, and people are willing to go and have it.
Right. Representative Lee Reeves, one of your bosses, Commissioner,
Yes, sir.
has a question for you.
Well, first of all, I want to thank the commissioner for coming to our great community and Maureen for what you do. Can we just give him a quick hand? Commissioner, I didn't know your background in dairy. I think you milked it a little bit. It just gets utterly worse from here. I'm going to give you what I think is a softball, both of you. What is the most underappreciated or undervalued opportunity, both in the state and in the county, that you think can be taken advantage of from a tourism perspective?
For the state side, I would tell you it's culinary. We've just created, to go along with Sounds Perfect, a new program we'll launch called Sound Bites. That's going to mash up music with chefs throughout Tennessee around music. It's going to be a bomb. And then now the Michelin side that's really going to spotlight our great culinary. Food is the largest side of a visitor spend on as far as tax revenue for Tennessee. And we've fortunately not talked about it as much as we get to talk about it over the upcoming years. So I think it's kind of that hidden gem. There's always opportunities in music and family fun and outdoor, but really culinary is coming. And we're going to blow away some other states like Louisiana and others with our culinary exposures and promotion.
And I would say they're not undervalued, but there's opportunity that we continue to tell a deeper story around our history experience, around our agricultural tourism experience. I wouldn't put them in the under category, but just continue to invest there. I think one that's kind of coming up that is undervalued but has huge potential to continue to grow is really around wellness. South Hall has invested in incredible property that has a serene campus with spa, and they're doubling down on the idea that it is a wellness stay. There's also the opportunity to think about wellness in the fresh air and great outdoors experience that we have and continue to lean into. And so I think that's an area that is perhaps undervalued, that there's opportunity to talk about what we already have, but through the lens of sort of the fresh air experience and the wellness experience of it.
Covered a lot, and there's probably more that we could get into, but our time is pretty much gone. I wanted to talk about the 911 Nashville TV show. It apparently is going to create some more excitement around the city of Nashville again, and we'll talk about that next time. But just want to thank Commissioner Mark Ezell and Maureen Haley Thornton for being here. You've been an amazing interview this morning, and we enjoyed having you. And got a few other folks I need to thank for making this happen. It's a community that has to come together to do this, but Columbia State Community College, Dr. Shane Hall, Mary Beth, and Bob work hard to make sure we have these beautiful accommodations. WCTV, Corey Henderson makes us look really good on TV, and we appreciate he and his crew being here. Tom Lawrence over at WAKM is making sure we're heard on WAKM, and we appreciate that. Derby and Cassie Jones at Williamson Herald get the word out, help us get the word out and about what we're doing here. And we've got a couple of financial assistance folks, the Vanderbilt University Medical Center. I can't remember sometimes whether it's the university or the University Medical Center, but Brady, we appreciate y'all's participation here. And the AT&T folks for helping out. The chamber staff, almost skipped the most important one in the mix, is Terry Remke with the Line Leadership Group that brings our coffee. That is a huge piece of the puzzle, and she has to get up really early to do that. Terry, we really appreciate that. And I will mention that they are the owner of most of the McDonald's in this area, so go buy a Big Mac today. Chamber staff, Matt Largen and his team, Jenna Potter was kind of the point person to kind of fill in the gap that Kel McDowell left when he left. But it came together pretty good, I think. And we appreciate all you guys for helping us. And just appreciate all you folks for showing up and coming to ask questions and help spread the word. So we're done for the year. Be back in January with our state representatives and our state senator. So I hope you'll be back in January with us, and look forward to seeing you then. Y'all have a good day. Whoops. One for our people, for people in the room. I was supposed to